Hey everyone, it's Kino here. Thanks for joining me on this series where you get to practice with me. Remember, if you're enjoying these videos, please leave me a comment and let me know what other topics you'd like to see me explore. Today's yoga session is going to be a real easy yoga for beginners. I know so many of you are just starting off in your yoga journey and you really feel comfortable practicing in the safe space of your own home. And I'm so honored to be your guide into this inner tradition of yoga. Join your hands together after coming to a comfortable seated position, and we'll initiate the sacred space of the practice with one Om. Remember that when you're beginning the journey of yoga, you don't need to be any particular size or shape or ethnicity or gender or anything like that. All that really matters is that you're inspired to get started. Yoga is a spiritual discipline that relies on a physical technique to bring you into deeper connection with the true self within. After many years of practice, you can look forward to a healthy body, a clear mind, and an open heart. So with that as your inspiration, let's go ahead and get started. Inhale, raise the hands above the head, rolling through the shoulders, reach up, and exhale, roll through the shoulders, come down to the hands in prayer. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, rise the arms all the way up, and exhale, gently down. 1 more time. Roll through the inner body. Inhale, raise the arms all the way up, and exhale, slowly, calmly down, resting the hands right on the knees. Then, with a deep inhalation, suck the belly in. Think about creating space between the ribs and the hips, softening through your inner body awareness. And then exhale, gently tip your head over to the left side. Grab hold of your head with the left hand, the shoulder with the right hand, and just pull those two nice and easy apart. Hold it for a moment. And let's come on back to the center. Remember, don't tug too hard. It's your head. We're just doing that to get a little stretch and flexibility through the neck. Exhale, lean the head over to the right. Grab on gently. And holding on, just gently pull those two apart. I got a little tension in my neck. Maybe you do too. It's a nice, easy release. Come on back to the center. Take that right arm out in front. Hold on with the left. And remember, don't pop the shoulder up. Really keep your shoulder down. And we're just going to cross it all the way over. And think about releasing the outer edges of your arm. Hold it for 1. Steady breathing. The belly is inside. 2. 3. Almost there. 4. When we release the shoulders, it's like we're kind of chipping away at all that protection around the heart. So if it starts to feel vulnerable, remember, just breathe and be. And back to the center. Let's switch the sides and hold it over. Remember not to pop it up, but kind of keep it down and in. Belly is in and slide over. 1, 2, 3. Try to keep that hand at the height of your shoulder. You're doing great. 4. And back to the center. Hands in prayer for a moment. Just equalize, return to your center. Now we'll release again through the shoulders. Inhale, take your right arm up, bending through the elbow. Hold on to the right elbow with the left hand. And we're just going to release that whole back side of the right arm. So we're releasing the right triceps, gently bending the knee and articulating through the shoulder. The shoulders and the chest really hold so much tension. So taking a few moments and a nice light, easy stretch where you're not overdoing it. Help you bring your attention deep into the body. And let's try the other side. Bend through the left arm and make sure you stack the left hand on the back of the left shoulder and just pull it back, keeping the shoulder in external rotation as you really release the triceps. Belly stays sucked in. Keep elongating the torso. Pull it in through the center. 3. Deepen your breath. 4. And 5. Bring your hands back together. Let the blood and circulation return through the hands, and we'll do 3 breaths up and down through the center line, nice and easy. Inhale, rise up through the center. Exhale, back down. In, hands together. Again, inhale, rise up through the center line. Exhale, gently back down and in. Let's do that one more time. You should feel much more freedom in your shoulders after those light stretches. Inhale, rise up through the center line, and exhale, gently back down. Now, come onto your hands and knees for a moment, pressing down through the shoulders. Pause, and we'll take a couple breaths here. Inhale, extending the spine forward and round your back under, pressing through the shoulders. Inhale, extend the spine nice and forward, and exhale, round it under. Do that one more time. Inhale, reach it up and forward, and exhale. This time, press back all the way to child's pose, and just settle down here for a few moments. 2, 3, keeping the belly sucked in, knees spiraling towards each other. 4, and curl the toes under. Inhale, come on up to downward facing dog. So this might be your first downward facing dog of the day, so just shake out the neck for a moment. Press down through the legs, and don't worry if your heels aren't on the ground, just relax there for a few moments. Suck the belly deeply in, rolling the shoulders open and the elbows straight. And let's bend the right knee and twist over to the right side so you can feel the release through the shoulder girdle. 2, 3, keep the belly sucked in. 4, and back to the center. Let's pause and downward facing for a moment. Slide it on over to the other side. Feel that release through that, especially the right side of the shoulder girdle. 1, belly sucks deeply in. 2, 3, 4, and back to the center. Give a few moments again in downward facing dog. You can gaze gently towards the knees. Make sure you're not up in the shoulders, but you're softening down. Create the space for the posture, lifting the hips above the head, pivoting deep into the hip joints. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bend your knees, come on back to child's pose just for a few breaths. Settle down, rounding the back under, keeping the knees together. Deep inhalation, and deep exhalation. One more time. Deep inhalation, deep exhalation. Curl your toes under again. Let's come on back to downward facing dog. And rolling the shoulders open, press up from your shoulder girdle. Slow, steady breathing. Settling into the pose. Downward facing dog is a great place to elongate inhalation and exhalation. Since we twisted out the hips, let's twist out the shoulder girdle. Keep the belly drawn deeply in. Transfer your weight a little onto the left and reach your hand to the ground, crossing the center line of the body. Slowly reach around if you can. Hold on to the ankle and twist from the shoulder girdle. Just easy, twist it out. And you can switch the gaze sort of right behind the left armpit. We'll hold that for 5. 1. Steady the breath. Feel the left arm really stabilizing. 2. Feel your hips lifting up and back, the ribs pulling into the center. 3, 4, and switch the gaze back. Settle into downward facing again for a moment. Press into the right hand. See if you can touch your feet. If you can't touch the feet, you're just going to leave that hand on the ground. Then reach over. Hold the outside, and you're going to pull gently around, and the gaze is sort of towards the armpit. All right? So relax, breathe, be steady and calm. Really feel your right shoulder pressing. We'll stay 2. Belly sucks in. Pull the ribs into the center line. 3, 4. You're doing good. And 5. Push it back to downward dog. Let's take a moment and just equalize through the shoulders. Switch the gaze forward. Come down onto your knees. And exhale all the way down to the belly. Now, on the belly, gently come into resting position. So your chin is just resting right on your hands. Hold it there for a moment. We're going to build up to an easy spinal extension. Roll your thighs inwards and towards each other. Lift your kneecaps off of the ground. And slowly reach your legs back for half of Shalabhasana. This is a really therapeutic back bend. Just keeping the belly sucked in, elongating through the thighs. 1, 2, 3, 4, And 5. Let's settle that down. All right, come up onto your elbows. Now, we worked a little bit through downward facing dog. Now we're going to slowly build up to upward facing dog. So come onto the elbows. Inhale, lift the center of the chest up and forward and really press with your elbows down. Exhale, drag yourself forward for this Cobra position, which will open the upper and the middle back. Lift the kneecaps off the ground. 1, 2, and think about your sternum popping up to the chin, elongating through the body. And 3, a deep muscular activation combined with a subtle focus on the inner body will keep your mind steady and strong. 4, and 5. Drop the ribs down, hands move to where the elbows were, and press with your arms and inhale, upward facing dog. Start off with an easy upward facing dog by making sure you push with the arms to lift the hips off of the ground, point the center of the chest forward, and let the neck be free. This is the easiest, most accessible version of up dog, which relies on the strength of the arms. Try to make sure your butt muscles are soft. If you squeeze the butt, you kind of jam the lower back, so really create the space for your back bends. Curl the toes under and exhale. Let's pop on back to downward facing. Settle yourself back onto your mat, feet hips width apart, hands shoulder width apart. Steady deep breathing. Nice long inhalation, nice long exhalation. One more time. Nice deep inhalation and nice deep exhalation. Good. Now switch the gaze forward. Say it again. And switch the gaze forward. Come on forward to plank pose. We'll hold plank for about 5 breaths to build a nice steady strength through the body and really press up from the shoulders. 1. Remember your lower abs. So your lower abs are supporting the middle body. 2. 3. Doing great. Keep the mind steady. 4. And exhale. Let's see if we can lower down to Chaturanga Dandasana. If it's difficult for you, you can put your chest on the ground. If you can, you keep it up. Inhale, roll forward to upward facing. And you can either look straight ahead if we're just starting. Eventually, you'll go to that neck position where you drop back, but don't stress. Curl your toes under, press back to downward facing dog. And settling into the pose where the belly is sucked in. Switch your gaze forward and step the right foot and the left foot. Settle your hips easily to the ground. Stretch your legs out in front. Let's pause for a moment. Stretching the legs out to the front, we're going to work on Dandasana position. Curl the toes back. If you're feeling that your back is very rounded, let's try to do it with muscular activation. So we'll hold on to the low belly and feel like you're picking the pubic bone back, supporting the sacrum, which is this triangular bone that rests in between the cheeks of the butt. You're going to pick the sacrum up and forward, creating space between the side bodies. So you're creating sort of space between the ribs, the lower ribs, and the side of the hips. Keep that space. Hands on the ground. The sternum lifts up to the chin. Let's stay here for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now you've got all that space between the ribs and the hips. So let's use the space. Gently taking the hands next to the knees. Slowly pull the ribs up and over. The ribs go up and over, up and over, up and over. And now, after you've reached a certain point where you folded forward, if your ribs are able to touch the thighs, then pull the ribs gently in to fold deeper into Paschimottanasana. Hold your big toes. And then inhale, sucking the belly in. Exhale, fold gently down. Now I know some of you might not be as far forward as I am, so even if you're still sort of up from here, think about creating the space for the posture. So the space for the posture is created by that deep lift. So regardless of if you're still up here or if you folded forward, it's the emptiness deep in the center of the body that matters. So never judge yourself by how deeply you go into the pose, but instead focus on the inner sense of emptiness. Gently resting eventually your forehead on the shins. And inhale, gently come on up. Exhale, hands on the floor. And we're going to cross the feet. All right? After you cross the feet, think about finding the support for the body from behind your pubic bone. So I want you to gently move your hands forward over the feet, and inhale, lift the hips up off the ground. So you just hold it there for a moment. Now let's step back to the plank pose. Hold the plank pose for a moment, and then exhale, slowly bend your elbows for the push-up position. Inhale, roll forward to upward facing, big push with the arms. Exhale, downward facing. Rest in downward facing for a moment. Settle, calm, soft breathing. Let's switch the gaze forward. Inhale, step your right foot and your left foot. Let's keep those hips off the ground for a moment. And then exhale, settle down, stretch out your legs, come to seated. After you settle the feet onto the ground, bend your right knee up. We'll start off with a very easy twist. Keeping the knee joint open to start off with, track the knee right in line with your right hip. This is sort of like a modified version of a pose called Marichasana C. Twisting poses will help get you deep into the inner body. Suck the belly deeply in and fold your torso around the thigh, aiming your left fingertips towards the ground, and think about spiraling your whole torso around your right thigh. Take your right hand behind you and gaze over your right shoulder. We'll stay here for 5 breaths. 1, press your right foot into the ground. 2, keep the belly sucking in, spiral into the inner body. 3, think about lengthening the torso, like you're spiraling around the center line. At the same time, you keep your lower ribs pulled in. 4, and 5. Now, see if you can just pop your right foot close to your hip. Slowly pop that right foot in, reaching the left hand down and around. And you can either stay using your hands as traction to stabilize the shoulder girdle, or eventually you'll pop your left hand around and the right hand around and come into the full expression of the pose. So staying where you are, keeping the belly drawn in, drop your right hip gently down, make space behind your pubic bone. And remember, don't judge yourself by whether or not you bound your hands. Judge yourself. Really, actually, don't judge yourself at all, as a matter of fact. If you want to measure your progress, it's always about what's in your heart. And my experience is that inside of everyone's heart, there's love and kindness. So once you tune into that, all judgment is gone for yourself, really, and for your whole world. All right, let's release the hands and come on back to that stabilized position with the shoulders. Pull the ribs, slide them around. Let's return to Dandasana for a moment. Kind of like an equal neutral point to start. Let's pop on over to the left side. Let's bend the left knee. Hug it in for a moment. Leave it relatively open so that that inner edge of your foot lines up with your opposite knee. And then the left hand reaches behind and you initiate the twist from the low belly. So pop the belly around and spiral your right hand down near your left foot. Come up onto your fingertips and spiral through the inner body, so you're really pulling in from the rib cage. Press your right heel into the ground. We'll stay for 5. 1, think about broadening your collarbone. 2, use your fingertips for just enough support, but it's really the pelvic floor that keeps your balance. 3, 4, and 5. Look on forward and see if you can pop that foot closer, getting your right shoulder down around the left knee, using the fingers for traction. And your choice is to either stay here and stabilize the posture, or if your elbow is past the plane of the left shin, you can reach around, gently looking to take the hands towards each other, completing the posture by looking over your left shoulder. We'll stay here for a little bit as the belly sucks in. And don't stress about taking the binds of the hands. If you want to just keep your fingers on the ground, that's all good. 3, keep the belly sucked in. What happens on the inner body is most important. 4, and 5. Let's take those left hand down, take the right hand down, use that traction for a moment with the balance, pop it back in, stretch out your legs for a moment. Let's cross the feet underneath, hands forward, start to activate the space behind your pubic bone, and inhale, lift the hips up, hold it there for a moment. Let's step back to the plank pose. Exhale to the push-up, which is Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, come on forward to upward facing dog. Exhale to the downward facing dog. Switch the gaze forward, step the right foot and the left foot, hold it with your hips up for a moment, and then exhale, gently settle it down. Bend your knees out in front. Hold on to your knees for a moment. Point your toes. Inhale. Take the arms forward. We'll hold that for 5 breaths. 1, 2. Really lift your ribs away from the hips. 3, 4, and 5. Cross your feet underneath you. Hands a little forward over the hips. Inhale. Hips up and back. Exhale. Settle it down. And this time, inhale. Bring the feet same height as the knees. 1. Suck the belly in. 2, 3, really use your core to stabilize your body. Think about steadying the mind. Be real strong. 4 and 5. Cross your feet again. Hands forward over the hips. Let's keep those toes down for a little bit of balance. When you think about lifting up, think about sending your hips up and forward and really pressing from your shoulders. All right, so here we go. Inhale, hips up and forward, and exhale down. Do it one more time. Inhale, bring your feet to the level of the knees. This is challenging. I want you to stay here. If you can, inhale, straighten the legs for the full Navasana posture. Navasana is the boat pose. So we need to think about that the emptiness of the belly is sort of like that emptiness in the center of the boat, okay? You're filling up the boat with air and strength through the inner body. 3, 4, gaze right up to the toes, and 5, cross the feet. Now we're ready for a little challenge this time. Hands forward of the hips. See if you can keep your feet off of the ground, all right? So layer the thighs into the pelvic floor, shoulders move forward, and inhale, hips backing up, and exhale down. Then reach your feet underneath you, slowly, calmly. Let's step it back to the plank pose. Hold it for a moment. Exhale to the push-up, chaturanga. Inhale, come on forward to upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. All right, step the right foot on the left foot. Hold the hips backing up for a moment. Exhale, calmly, sit down. After you come to seated, let me just do it like this. Return to a comfortable seated position. I've got 3 more poses, and these 3 poses are real important to kind of seal in the spiritual energy of the practice. Reach your elbows behind your back. Deep inhalation. Slowly as you exhale, pivot forward, 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 and down. Calmly let yourself drop down. And if your chin isn't on the ground, you could aim your forehead to the ground. The idea is just to turn the mind gently inward. Press in through the feet, roll through the neck to come back to a comfortable seated position. First 2 fingers together, straight arms. Just a couple of breaths here. Deep inhalation, deep exhalation. Slow, steady inhale. Slow, steady exhale. Again, deep inhalation. Deep exhalation. 2 more times. Inhale. And exhale. 1 more time. Inhale. And exhale. Cross your feet. Last thing we're going to do is an effort towards building a real strong mind and a strong body too. Inhale, hips up and forward. 1, 2, so you lift the hips off the ground. And let me see 1 foot off the ground. 3, 4. Let me see the other foot off the ground. Now remember, that took me about, 5 years to really feel a good lift. 4 and 5. All right, let's sink that down. Slowly settle the pelvis into the ground. Bending the knees, roll through the spine. Stretch the legs out. Roll through the spine. Stretch the legs gently out. Relaxing the mind, relaxing the body. After a few moments of quiet rest and reflection, with a deep inhalation, move the fingers and toes, bend through the knees and the elbows.
Gently pull the knees into the chest. Give yourself a little hug in. Roll from side to side. Gently roll over onto your right side, relaxing, releasing everything.
Slowly return to a comfortable seated position. Remember that each time you practice, yoga is an inner journey. It's not just about stretching, and the effect of the practice is almost like a ricochet effect, because if you give yourself just a few moments each day to tune into yourself, it's almost like saying, to yourself that you're worth it, that you're worth those 5 minutes, that the small amount of time that you take for your practice is your way to validate yourself and make space to carve out that time to honor yourself, to honor the inner body. Take each of those moments as much as you can and appreciate them with the gratitude just for the opportunity to practice, to give thanks for the body that you do have, for the precious moments that you spend on your mat, and let that recharge you so that you can carry the message of yoga into every moment of your life. If you take the time each day to practice, you're sort of planting the seeds of peace and awareness in the garden of your heart. And as you begin to be a more peaceful person, it affects every aspect of your life, so that your choice of words, your choice of actions, is just naturally aligned with a more peaceful life. This is the real benefit that comes from the practice of yoga. So I hope you're inspired to practice every day and plant those seeds in the garden of your heart so that they can bloom as the flowers of peace in every moment of your life. Have your hands gently together. Thank you so much for letting me be your guide into the inner tradition of yoga. Namaste.